Focusing on the inhale and the exhale. Allowing each breath to be the connection between body and mind, body, mind, spirit, presence and connection. Let it be the key in this moment that unlocks the answers that you've been searching for. The key to the answer about happiness, about peace, and about the truth of the self. As you breathe in and out, just know that that key is turning in the cylinders of the lock. And all you have to do is decide to open the door. And draw the hands together in front of the heart. We'll lift our voices in one Om and the invocation mantras. Taking a breath in. Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Ganana Antva Ganapati Gum Havamahe Kavin Kavinam Upamashravastamam. Jesta Rajam Brahmanan Brahmanaspata Anashrinvanu Tibisidha Sadhanam Mahaganapataye Namaha. Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhir Vajinivati Dhinama Vitriyavatu Ano Divo Brahataf Parvata Da Saraswati Ajata Gantu Yagnyam Havan Devi Jujushana Gritachi Shagmam Novacha Mushati Shrinotu Vagdevyai Namaha. And gently releasing the hands down, fluttering the eyes open. So today I thought we would talk about yoga, as if we never do that. But in the opening, I introduced this idea that the breath is the key, it's the link, and it's also what turns the key. It's what supports you in deciding that I'm going to open this door now. I'm going to open this door and I'm going to take these steps. But there's a lot that has to fall into place for that to happen, like on a big scale. We're constantly opening little doors. We're constantly looking for self-improvement techniques, going out to Barnes & Noble and getting the most recent version of Better Me 2.0, how to quit smoking and stay quit. All these kinds of things. So we're constantly looking at these little things along the way, but we make a big mistake in that when we're looking at the little things, when we're looking at the newest self-help book, it's only addressing a little thing, one thing. It's not addressing everything in this life that irritates you, allows you to suffer, It's not addressing things on a vast scale. They're small changes, which is fine, and we should continue that work. But we should understand that just because we pick up a book or some techniques that are teaching us how to, for example, take better care of ourselves, doesn't guarantee happiness. at all. In my lifetime, my weight fluctuates greatly. I've been a size 2 and I've been a size 20. And many stops in between those two places. Probably every number in between those two places. And when I was a size 2, I heard from people outside of me how amazing I looked. Did I ever think about modeling? Da, 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 da. And I also heard how emaciated I looked and how unhealthy I looked. And had I thought about putting on some weight? And when I was a 20, I heard people around me say to me how amazing I looked. I looked healthy. I had vibrancy. I had some color in my cheeks. Had some curve in my hips. It was a good thing. And I heard people tell me, you look so unhealthy. Like, I've never seen you look this way before. Have you thought about losing some weight? So if I lose weight in order to attempt self-support, if I gain weight in order for self-care, there's going to be always somebody out there who's got something to say about it. And because we're such fragile beings, so dependent upon the thoughts of others, that is a source of great distress. So at some point, we have to realize that whether the book tells you you should weigh between this and this, or this and this, or you should eat this, or you should not smoke that, or you should smoke that, or you should not drink that, or you should drink that. Whatever the book is telling you, it might be really wonderful information, but it's not the source point of your inner peace or happiness. Because when you're taking advice, even when you're sitting here taking advice from me, it's not. It's still external. It's still external to you. We still look for the validation. We still look for someone to tell us we're doing it properly, we're doing it right. And if we don't hear that, we become full of doubt. And then the doubt stops us in our tracks. So on the one hand, we definitely want to make the small strides, absolutely. Small strides can be very powerful in the long run. But we have to remember it's a long run. It's a long freaking run. It's like what is that, the 25-mile New York Marathon or something, right? It's the long run. And then we also need to remember that depending upon external validation, as well as internal egoic validation, is a mistake. Because it will never lead us to where we're seeking to go. It will only fill us up with doubt and regret and all other kinds of emotions. So we have to educate ourselves on when to listen and when not to both those external and internal voices. How do you know when the internal voice is not egoic in nature? How do you know when the internal voice is saying something to you and it's not hurtful to you? It's not the ego grasping at something. You know, because it's not hurtful to you. It's not blaming you. It's not criticizing you. It's not putting you down. It's not elevating you. It's not telling you how great you are. Because whenever we try to talk to ourselves and say how horrible we are or how great we are, that's just the ego. That's the ego, because the spirit says, what are you comparing this to? There's no horrible or great. There's just you. So the moment that you get caught up in that judgment, I'm a horrible person, I'm a fantastic person, then you know that's the ego talking. When the mind says, but if I lost a little bit more weight, then maybe people would look at me differently. That's the ego talking. If I gained a little bit more weight, maybe people would stop insulting me about how thin I am. That's the ego talking. So you know it's the ego when it's hurtful to you and when it's looking for something. It's looking for something outside of yourself. Big obstacle, huge obstacle. So this key And this turning of the doorknob and this opening of the door, it relies upon us having this kind of foundational understanding of ourselves and of the world around us. But even when we have that understanding, no matter whether it's a little bit of an understanding or a big understanding, there are still 9 obstacles that they list out in yoga that we will encounter day to day in our life. 9 obstacles. The first one is disease. Disease is the first one, and you're guaranteed disease. You're guaranteed it. Like, nobody who has ever lived has been disease-free their entire life. You will have some kind of illness in this life, some kind of injury, some kind of dis-ease in the body. That's the first obstacle. How do we minimize the likelihood of disease? Oh, goodness gracious. How do we minimize the likelihood of another COVID outbreak? That's a big question. COVID was always going to happen. COVID-19 was always going to happen. And it will happen again. Why will it happen again? Because we didn't learn. Instead of attacking the problem, we attacked each other. So the problem is still there. And what is the problem? The problem is not the scientists or the doctors or the politicians. Those are other problems. But that's not the problem with COVID-19. The problem with COVID-19 was the way we live. The lack of sanitary living in places that are responsible for food manufacturing. In some part, that is the problem. And then there's other problems that go along with it. But that is a great problem. And has there been an overhaul to the system? Has there been a change in the way that food is handled because of COVID-19? No, not at all. As a matter of fact, we all probably forgot about it. We probably all forgot that, oh, that's right, the earliest cases came from where? The fishing industry. I know some people say they came from a laboratory. Still, the fishing industry. And the unclean conditions where they're throwing fish in order to be sold in markets and to be shipped overseas. We don't learn. And so we set ourselves up for disease. The food we eat, the amount of whole food, and not whole food because like everybody has to walk around looking like Chrissy Brinkley or whoever the latest model on the cover is. No, whole food so that your body can function properly. Your body doesn't know what to do with all of the fillers and the additives and the fake crap that they put in our foods today. Your body doesn't know what to do with the immense amount of pesticides and heavy metals that are found in foods today. Your body doesn't know what to do with that. So it becomes congested with toxins. And when that happens, the body goes from a homeostasis, a place of optimal functioning, or a good place of functioning, a place of good functioning, to a place where it can't function properly. Digestion suffers. Breathing suffers. Stress levels suffer. So the more that we're eating chips and, frozen, highly processed foods, even if they say vegetarian or vegan on them, minimize that stuff because it's not real food. A little bit of it now and then is fine. But your plate needs to be whole foods, grains, vegetables, fruits, real food, so that your body can know what to do with it. They say, whatever food you're going to eat, put it on the counter and leave it there for a couple of days. And notice if any insects go to it. If ants won't go to it and eat it, you probably shouldn't be eating it either. If your dog won't eat it, although in all honesty, dogs will eat almost everything, including poop. So
I have one of those.
Marika was one of those too, cat poop. It was her favorite pastime. So I had to put the baby gate up to stop, because every once in a while I'd just be sitting there, like working or resting or doing something, and I'd hear what we called the crunchies. And you never saw a person jump up so fast. No! Oh. Yeah, so let's not use dogs as good measure. But they will tell you when they won't eat something. That's something. When they will not eat it, that's a big thing. I always look at my dogs and my cats, and when they won't eat, cats won't typically eat non-meat-based foods, but they will sometimes eat special kinds of treats that are not meat-based. But the dogs, when they won't eat something, like a piece of bread, that bread is not something I'm going to eat either, because they'll eat anything, and they won't eat that. Highly processed breads, they'll be like, get that away from me. So the whole foods, because your body also knows, it smells the whole foods, and you see the whole food, and then you taste the whole food, and your body gets all giggly and says, oh my God, this is so great. Now I'm going to get these nutrients that are going to be highly bioavailable, and I'm going to be able to incorporate that into this body matrix. And then with all of that good, clean energy, I'm going to be able to get rid of some of the unhealthy energy, some of the toxins in the body. So good eating, another factor in avoiding disease. Are you going to avoid disease 100%? No. But when we're not taking good care of ourselves, when we don't dress right, we don't eat right, we ingest substances that alter our body and mind, when we live under high levels of stress, all of these things, did I say not sleep enough? When we don't sleep properly, then we end up with compound disease. Not just one, we end up with compound, because stress is in and of itself a disease, right? Stress is number one. So then we're going to put something else on top of stress, like, artificial insomnia, the kind of insomnia that you get because you're overtired or because you're fearful of going to sleep. And then on top of that, then you're going to have other issues. So it's going to be one on top of the other. And pretty soon we have compound diseases. And when we have compound diseases, how easy is it to feel peaceful? Constipation is a disease of the body. And constipation is chronic in our society. Have you ever seen somebody with constipation who felt like celebrating life? No. All they want to do is poop. It's like, get it out of me. Right? Yeah. So disease is the first obstacle, and it's a big one. It's a big one. Because, again, that word, disease, medical terminology, dis-ease, life terminology. You have to change life, perspectives on life, in order to minimize the diseasefulness of it. The second is the mental illness. Mental illness. Second obstacle. Mental dullness, mental sluggishness, mental lethargy, mental instability. Why would you open the door if you're not feeling wherewithal, if you're not clear in the mind to some degree, having moments of clarity, moments of mental balance, moments of mental sharpness? You might not even have an interest. It's like, I don't even care, When depression is chronic and little to no solution is being sought. And even when solution is being sought, but it's not being what we will call successful. Because the one pill doesn't work for everybody. For some people, depression is more about lifestyle change. For other people, it's medication. For other people, it's embracing grief and understanding that it's not wrong to feel grief. It's not wrong to feel sad, melancholy, It's not bad to not be up and partying all the time. You can't be up all the time. You have to have some quiet moments. Otherwise, you're going to crash and burn. So sometimes the mental instabilities come from a place of misunderstanding, what we call in yoga ignorance. To not understand what it is that you're looking at. To say, well, one person says to you, you should smile more. Why are you so sad? And then suddenly, where you were feeling pretty okay, now you go through the rest of your day going, am I really sad? I guess I'm sad. I guess all that happiness I thought I had was not real. And then all of a sudden, you're in the throes of some kind of artificial depression. That's not actual depression. That's self-imposed depression. When you take someone else's word for it, for how you feel, like you don't know how you feel. If you don't know how you feel, it's because you're listening to too many other people. Tell them, be quiet and go away. And then you sit with yourself and ask yourself, well, what am I feeling in this moment? Is this depression or is this just quiet? Is it depression or is it melancholy? You know, melancholy is actually a thing of my grandmother's generation. And somewhere along the line, we lost that word. And I don't know why, because it's a great word. What is melancholy? Melancholy is the space between here and there. It's the space between. It's the, I'm not like super hyped. And I'm also not like super low. I'm just kind of here. But we're told in the advertisements, get up and go, do it, do it, do it. Nike commercials, get to the top of the mountain. If you don't want to get to the top of the mountain, there's obviously something wrong with you, you know. But did you know? So Taylor Swift is like on that world tour thing now, right? She did an interview recently because she was just named like the 2023 Person of the Year. Did any of you read the interview?
Bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces. Did you read the part where she said, this tour is grueling. I'm on that stage, high energy every night. And because of that, I sleep all day, every day.
Wow. And she's young.
And she's young. She's 33. She's on that stage 4 hours a night, dancing, kicking it up. And we look at her and we say, oh man, to be young. And then we hear her admit, she sleeps all day until just a couple of hours before the next show. She has to. So is she depressed because she needs rest? No. Are you? No. You just need rest. And sometimes when we've been going for 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years at a pace that's crazy and hectic, we get burned out and then we need a lot of rest. And in that state, there's some melancholy. And the melancholy is your mind actually trying to do you a favor by saying, don't be too interested in anything right now because you don't have the energy. Don't be too interested. Melancholy is the warning. You need to rest. You need to stop. You need to just be for a little while. Otherwise, you will find yourself in another place. And that other place could be depression or something similar to that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So don't look at those moments where like, oh, it's you know, the middle of the afternoon and I'm feeling kind of lethargic and I got to do something, ramp myself up, I'm going to go to the gym. Don't go to the gym. Take a 20-minute nap. And when you're done with your 20-minute nap, you'll be like, wow, that was crazy. I feel so much better now. Or you go to the gym and keep bearing down on your body. Keep bearing down on your mind. There's a place for the gym, but it's not where there should be a nap. Yeah? Okay. So the next one is doubt. I have my little cheat sheet here, so I'll make sure I don't miss any of them. The next one is doubt. And I think doubt is really kind of self-explanatory, but in case it's not, when we doubt, we don't have faith. When we doubt, we can't let go of something, our fear. When we doubt, we are defensive, hyper-protective, on guard. When we doubt, our hope flows out of us like water through a sieve. Our dreams, our aspirations, our intentions become iffy. Because what if? What if? What if? What if I'm wrong? What if this doesn't work? What if? In doubt, the what ifs take over the world. The world of you, the world of your mind, the world of your body, the world of your decision making. And then what is what if? What does that actually represent? Indecision. You lose the ability to make a choice, to make a decision and live with it. Well, what if I'm wrong? Well, what if you're wrong? Then you make another choice. But if you stand here for 7 days and all you say to yourself, you vacillate between the what ifs and you don't make the choice, that's 7 days that you will not get back. Do you know how big that is? That is so powerful. That is 7 days that you could have been practicing, meditating, serving, hiking. That you could have been doing something completely different other than vacillating back and forth, back and forth. Every conversation could have been filled with something else. Conversation with yourself as well as others. Because what happens when we vacillate? Hi, yeah, I just don't know what to do. Didn't we just talk about this? Yeah, but I still don't know what to do. Well, have you given it more thought? It's all I'm doing is thinking about it. What do I do? I can't tell you what to do. Why not? And that's what our conversations become. They become about the what if. They become about the vacillating itself. And they actually reinforce the vacillation because other people can't give us the answer. So first BFF says, this is what you should do. Go meditate. Go for a hike. Let go of it. Okay, great. Wonderful. I'm going to do that. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were home when I called. Hang up the phone. Dial the next number. Hey, it's me. Do you have a minute? What about this? Then they give you advice. And then you hang up the phone. And then you call third person. Then you go to the store and buy your groceries and talk to the cashier. Then you get pulled over for speeding because you weren't paying attention on the road. And you say to the cop, what do I do? Anywhere and everywhere that you can get an opinion. Anything to avoid making a freaking decision. And that is doubt. Anything to avoid the decision. That's doubt. Anything to empower the what ifs so I don't have to make a decision. And what comes along with that is a handy little matching piece of luggage, baggage aka, is the mental story that you're doing something, that you have made a decision. The mental story, the impression that you give yourself. Well, I'm just being very careful. You're not being very careful. You're being avoidant. Make a choice. And then just be with that. And maybe it wasn't the greatest choice. Maybe it was a great choice. Who knows? You're not going to know until you do it. So we all need to overcome the doubts and get into the decision making. And decision making doesn't have to be the big decisions. Like, do I stay in this relationship or do I go? That's a big decision. And it's not an easy one. But what time you go to bed at night, what kind of food you eat, what kind of liquid substances you put into your body. These are decisions. And when we sit there and say, I listened to what Swamini said, I'm going to go on a whole food kick. I'm going to just start really including whole foods. And I'm going to start tomorrow. Because tonight, Mod Pizza has a special on pizzas. And I love their pizza. So I'm going to have pizza tonight. And then tomorrow, I'm going to start. That's not a decision. That's an avoidance. And that's an avoidance that is full of doubt because you have more faith in the pizza than you do in the whole food. And you have more faith in your ability to give in to the pizza than to give in to the whole food. You have more faith in the flavor of the pizza than the flavor of the whole food. Does that make sense? Yeah. So there's lots of doubt going on there. Lots of doubt. Lots of doubt in the things that will support you. Like when you're in a yoga posture and you need a prop. And you say, we're not going to be here too long. I'm just going to rough it out. And it's like, everything is a choice. The decision that you made there was to not support yourself. And when you choose to not support yourself, and I speak this from experience because I was never a prop user in my early practice days. Nope. I didn't feel I needed them. I felt like I could get to wherever it was that I wanted to be without them. And then 10, 15 years later, 20 years later, I was introduced to a prop. And I was like, where has this been my whole life? My whole practice. And the prop was the silliest little prop. It was the seemingly stupidest thing. I have always been a person who could sit cross-legged for long periods of time. Sukhasana, Siddhasana, Padmasana, love all the seated postures. Plop my butt down on the floor and sit. And then, what is her name? She's the restorative. She's the restorative queen. She's very well known. Judith Lassiter. I was studying with Judith Lassiter, and I sat down. She came over to me, and she said, "Move your butt." And she put a little wedge of a blanket, just a tiny little wedge of a blanket, and told me, "Sit on the edge." And I went, "What is this madness?" The pelvis tilted forward, the spine propped right up, from a little thing like this tall under my butt. And not even really under it, just like at the very back edge of it. And from that point, I said, I have to understand more now. Now I have to understand more. Because if this changes a posture that I already love into something that I love even more, what is it going to do for the postures that I can't stand? Yeah. So start now with whatever decision it is that needs to be made. Amber's smiling.
I avoid lunges. I told
So doubt is something very important. And doubt leads to stress. And stress leads to disease. Doubt leads to a lethargic mind, imbalance in the mentality, lack of clarity, dullness, and eventually anxiety and things like that. And all of those types of things support disease. The next one is carelessness. And carelessness goes hand in hand with all of the others as well. It really does. I mean, in your life, what are you careless about? Anybody?
Sorry.
What was that?
Sorry, can't hear you.
That's okay. There's something, though. There's something each and every one of you. There's at least one thing, maybe 50, that we're each careless about. Yeah. So I have a tendency to be careless with sharp things. It's not on purpose. I'm just careless. And I'm so careless that when my kids were teenagers, I was told I'm no longer permitted to use sharp knives or to play with sharp things. Because I was putting together a hibachi, just a silly little hibachi. And I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. It was like, a couple of screws here and smash it together and it's done. And when I was doing all of that carelessly, I ended up with this huge gaping wound, which was that far away from my nerve. 18-ish stitches later, And they're like, no more sharp things for you. Now, what is it about that? Is it that I'm careless with sharp things? No, it's not that. It's that I'm careless with myself. I'm careless with myself. Because each and every time, I kid you not, each and every time I've had a significant injury, there has been a voice that said, watch out, watch it, watch it. And I didn't watch it. I didn't listen to the voice. Do you all know that voice? Have you heard it before? Of course you have. It's the one that tells you you're going to trip on those pants. Right? I kid you not. The other day I had on those wide leg orange pants that I wear. Like they're all orange, but the really wide leg ones. And as I was going into my office, and I was going to get into my chair, and I thought, I should move the chair back. It was like a quick thought, and it was a lot. It's like, I should move the chair back because one of these days I'm just going to break my toe on these pants. And I moved to make my way into my chair without moving my chair, without listening to myself. I carelessly ignored myself. And my big toe got caught on the pant leg, and I sprained it. It pulled out to the side, and oh boy, it's still really sore. Careless. Not listening to yourself, not heeding your own inner voice is careless. It leads to physical injury, mental injury, emotional injury. It leads to doubt. It leads to disease, dis-ease, diseasefulness. So when any of those four are present, how will there ever be yoga? Now, by yoga, I don't mean what you do on your yoga mat. What is yoga? Yoga is the union of self with that. Yoga is the experience of unity. Yoga is the experience of oneness with whatever you call that. Connection with God, with Goddess. Yoga is that, and yoga is also defined as the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. The stoppage of the crazy. Now, you tell me, how is the crazy going to stop if we're full of dis-ease, if we're stressed out, if our mind is dull and hyper-focused on things that really don't matter, if we have no clarity, if we're careless? How does that stop winding? So we have to address these obstacles, each one on many, many levels of our existence, of our life experience. We need to address them, and we need to make some decisions. You don't have to make all the decisions today, but at least one. And let that be to start looking at these obstacles and seeing actually what's your role in that. Not what's other people's role. You can't control other people. What's your role? What are you doing? Make sense? Laziness is the next one. And no matter how much of an energetic person one is, no matter how much one pushes oneself, so there is still a laziness for all of us. There's absolutely laziness for all of us. There's moments where we say, well, I could get on my meditation mat this morning, but you know what? I'm not going to. I'm going to sleep in for an extra hour and call it self-care. But that's not really self-care, is it? Because if you feel like you need an extra hour of sleep, then odds are you went to bed too late. Or did something the day or two before that has impacted you and caused you to feel fatigued. That's what needs to be changed. Not avoiding meditation. Avoiding meditation is only going to add insult to injury. Avoiding your yoga asana practice is only going to add insult to injury. Avoiding your sadhana is only going to add insult to those other 4 injuries. So if you wake up in the morning and say, well, I don't think I'm going to go meditate today. I think I'm just going to stay in bed. Self-care day, yay. Ask yourself why. Why? What happened yesterday that led to this today? That you would put your true self-care off to the side and avoid it in favor of something that's not actually self-care. Now, if it's that you truly are tired, you went to bed at a decent hour, you ate good food, you did your walking, whatever it is the day before, and you wake up and you're like, I'm really just not feeling well. Well, of course, then take care of yourself. Do what you have to. Learn what the difference is. Had a great conversation yesterday with a friend, and they said, the hardest thing right now for me is to know the difference between what's healthy and what's like hyper. Because every time I stop, I feel bad. I feel like I'm being lazy. I feel like I should be doing something. And I said, that's your ego. You have to learn the difference. You have to stop sometimes. You have to. You have to refresh, rejuvenate. You have to rebuild. And that requires rest. But rest and lazy are not the same thing. Lazy is just, I don't want, I'm not gonna. Lazy mind, right? I don't want to deal with that problem right now, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist. Lazy mind. Not being willing to look at what needs to be looked at, to do what needs to be done. In our yoga practice, in our yoga asana practice, when we say, I'm going to avoid that posture, and when Swamini puts us in that posture, I'm going to go use the bathroom. That's lazy. It's lazy avoidance. Instead of staying and working and doing what you got to do, And believe me, we all used to leave in our Jiva Mukti classes. Sharon Gannon would get us into some of these postures, and there'd be 20 people walking out the door to go to the bathroom real quick, and then they disappear for about 12 minutes because they knew how long she would be working on that posture, always, and she would call us out on it too when we came back in, totally 100%. It's very human, to avoid, absolutely. But we do have to understand that there's a price to pay for that. There's a price to pay for that. Yeah. And so when we are willing to face the difficult moments, it builds resiliency within us. And the resiliency gives us a certain kind of energy that allows us to stand and stay grounded in the moments of great discomfort. The laziness steals that from us. Laziness steals our resiliency from us and makes it much easier for us to continually say, well, not that this. I'm going to avoid that. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to go do this instead because this is better for me. This makes me happy. It doesn't really make you happy. It's just an avoidance tool. So we don't build resiliency doing that at all. As a matter of fact, probably just build a lot of guilt. I probably should have stayed, probably should have worked it out, probably should have said this, probably should have done that. And so now we're calling the friends on the phone saying, well, should I have done that? What do you think? And they're like, no, you're fine. Go get another latte, you'll be okay. Is that all making sense? I feel like I'm a little bit like all over the place, but there's like 9 of them, and there's so many different intersections in life with each one of them, There really are. Attachment to things. The other ones feed right into attachment to things, and attachment to things feeds right into the other 5. Absolutely. When we avoid one thing, whether it be, because we're in a moment of mental dullness, or we're experiencing doubt about our own validity, we're going to attach ourselves to something that will bring us comfort. Whether that be food or new shoes or whatever it happens, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is for a person. We have a tendency to attach ourselves to material things, to substances of some sort or another, in order to find comfort. They will not bring comfort. They won't. They'll dull your mind. They'll amplify the dullness of the mind. They'll amplify any mental health issues that are going on. They'll amplify diseases because of the stress associated with it, for one thing. And if it's a substance issue that we're talking about, then the physical disease, the establishing of disease within the physical body will also be amplified. So we really have to be mindful. We really need to be mindful. If we're putting ourselves in a situation where we're spending a lot of money and we don't have a lot of money to spend, then that's bringing about stress. And the stress is, I know I shouldn't buy this, but I'm buying this anyway. I'm going to buy it. Then the justification comes. I'm going to buy it because I like it. And I have a right to buy the things I like. And then we get it home and we say, I don't really like it. I just thought I was going to like it. And now I don't really like it. And I spent all that money on it. And now what does that do to your thoughts about yourself and your capacity to make decisions? It infuses doubt in you. Well, I wasn't able to make that kind of a choice. I must be weak. I must be this. I must be that. And then you start seeing yourself in that light for everything else too, whether you know it or not. They all merge right into one another. They do. So when you're going to buy something, look at it and say, do I really want that? Do I really need that? Do I really like that? I try not to go into stores very often anymore. Yesterday I had to go get a couple of things for the volunteer dinner last night. And so I went into TJ Maxx. I used to love TJ Maxx years ago. I used to love it. I used to go in there and be like, oh my gosh, look at this shirt, look at this pants, look at that, look at that, look at that.
I would love to run into you at TJ Maxx.
Oh.
That'd be great.
They don't have much orange there.
Yeah, where's the orange section?
They don't have much orange. They had one orange thing. They had like an orange little throw blanket. And I looked at it as I was walking past and I said, oh, I do love blankets. And I do love blankets. I love blankets. So I picked it up and I looked at it and it was nice and soft, And I was like, and it's orange, so, I could justify that. And then I caught myself. And I said, oh, these old habits die hard. They do. Dear little blanket, you are cute, but I don't need you. And in all honesty, I don't really even like the other colors that you're with. Like the combination colors just weren't really working, And I put it down and I just merrily went on my way and got what I went there for to begin with. And it doesn't matter, where we are in life. This is always going to be the issue. If I had bought that and walked out of the store with it and into the car, I can pretty much guarantee you somebody would have got it as a Christmas present. Because I would have come back here and seen the other blankets that I already have, most of which are just kind of folded up pretty in the cubby, And I would have said, what were you thinking? Why did you even bother with that? So crazy. I do have a problem with orange, though. There's so many orange things that I have. It's so fun. But I guess it's okay. So attachment to things. Start giving some things away. Give some things away. Pack up a couple of boxes of things and donate them. Or take some things and give them to the people who you love. And say, I could wait till I die to give you this, but I would rather see you enjoy it while I'm alive. This is for you. And then that gets you into the mode of giving rather than receiving. Into offering rather than taking. And it really is a beautiful practice. It really is. Delusion. They all feed into delusion. And delusion is really just pretending. Like, we pretend we're okay. We pretend we're strong. We pretend. And there's a part of us that sometimes we need to, I don't really like this phrase, fake it till you make it, because that's not actually what you're doing. You're practicing until you become masterful, right? Practicing until you acquire skill. So there's a place for that. That's fine. But the delusion part is when we're in the middle of an intense crisis and we pretend it's okay. We pretend that we're going to be fine. We pretend we have it under control. We pretend we don't need help. We're delusional in that way. We have an issue. We have an addiction of some sort, and we think we have it under control. That's delusion. That's absolutely delusion. And substance abuse doesn't just have to be substances like drugs and alcohol and cigarettes. It's any substance. It's food. It's money. It's sex. It's popularity. It's power. It's whatever the substance is that you cling to, that you attach to. No. It's dangerous. It's so very dangerous. Anything that we think we control, we do not. Anything that we think that we will be able to bring in alignment with our intentions, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. All of these big self-helpish kind of books that say, take control of your life by making everything align with your wants, they're lying to you. Because you don't make the world align with your intentions or your wants. You have to make you align with you. You have to want that, in spite of the world around you. You need to align with yourself, and that is no easy task. So it's much more of a what do they call that? It's much more of a little hashtag thing to say, make the world align with you. You know, it's like, it just sounds so much easier. I'll just herd all the kittens and, get them to align with my intentions. If they were to have the little hashtag that said, you got to do your work in order to make things come your way. Oh, that's boring. That's irritating. That's not sexy. It's not fun. It's not glamorous. That's not going to tell everybody else what I'm doing. And it's not going to put me up on a billboard. That's not going to give me Taylor Swift kind of fame. No. But all that stuff is fake anyway. I mean, she's a motivator. Absolutely. And her music is brilliant. But the fame that surrounds her. Yeah. What is it? Elon Musk. And I'm not a big fan of his. I'm not a fan of it. He's whoever he is. But he actually said something to her when she was named the person of the year. And initially I was like, wow, he's creepy. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he said to her something to the effect of, once you receive that title, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm paraphrasing greatly what he said, but he was right. Once you set yourself up for that plateau, there's no place to go but off of it. So be mindful of the plateau that you set yourself up on. Don't put yourself on delusional plateaus. Set yourself up in reality. Set yourself up to do the work, to be less attached to the outcome, to not have so many attachments things outside of yourself. Swami Satsang said, if you're going to be attached to anything, be attached to your inner peace. Let that be your sole attachment. And let your entire life circumambulate that. Let your entire life be about that. And then every decision that you make, when that inner peace really has the importance to you that the mode pizza has, or you fill in the blank there, when your inner peace truly has that level of importance to you, that level of attention, you will make decisions for the sake of that inner peace without hesitation. Just like we hop in the car and run over to the pizzeria or the mall or wherever the hell it is that we're running to. We don't even think about it. We say, I'm going. Because we're caught up in that. And then we say, inner peace can wait for a little while. Tomorrow. If it can wait till tomorrow, then it has very little importance. It needs to be today. And not later today. It needs to be now. This moment. And then the decisions follow. And initially there will be more stress because changes are never easy. But eventually there will be less stress. As you begin to see and show yourself, because you got to prove to yourself that you can do it. You have to prove it to yourself. I do not know a single person, no matter how they show up, I have not met a single person who is not riddled with self-doubt. I have never met a single person, with the exception of maybe my guru, who has not been riddled with self-made stress, self-made attachments, self-made delusion, too much investment in what the outside world has to say, and that includes even your partner in life. That includes your children, your parents. Too much investment in what they have to say. Not enough listening. Not enough connection to what's needed in your own self. So the delusion robs from us the ability to ground ourselves down into self-understanding. And that inability to ground down is the next obstacle. An inability to ground down, to be grounded, to be stable, to be consistent, to feel like there's 2 feet on the ground. Even if the heart is soaring, there's still 2 feet on the ground. What is grounding down is security. And what is security? It doesn't come from anybody else or anything else. Security is your own faith in your own self. That number 1, this is the path you're meant to walk in this life. That number 2, this path actually goes somewhere. It leads to something. In each and every moment. There's purpose to it. And the purpose is the unfolding of the self. And that's the most important thing. Being grounded allows you to build confidence in that purpose. Being deluded by the nature of the world and the other people in the world and their opinions and attitudes steals that purpose from you. Because ultimately you get caught up in the drama, and the drama just seems so much more exciting than just me listening to my little self talking about peace. Peace isn't sexy. Peace isn't wild and wonderful and, peace isn't loud and obnoxious. Peace isn't trying to prove a point. Peace isn't doing any of those things. So it doesn't hype up the hormonal aspect of our bodies and minds the same way that the world does. The world hypes us up like crazy. Completely. But when we're hyped up like that, do you feel grounded? No. Do you feel afraid, stressed out, anxious, not sure where to turn, not sure who to trust? Yeah, nowadays There was a time where we knew who our neighbors were. We talked to them. We knew them by their name. We knew their kids. We knew their business. Probably knew more than we needed to know, but we knew who they were. Do you know who your neighbors are? Good. Do you talk to them often? Good. There's only 2 people shaking their head yes. Yeah? Yeah. And the last one is impermanence or inconsistency, which goes hand in hand with the one before about grounding down. If you're not grounded, you can't be consistent. If you're not grounded, you can't show up consistently in a consistent mindset, with a consistent intention, with a consistent resiliency. If there's not a sense of grounding, and in order for there to be grounding, what does there have to be? There has to be proper sleep, proper exercise, proper mental state, proper meditation, proper service, proper attitude. There's got to be the 12 to 13 different propers that Swami Vishnudevananda listed out. Swami Shivananda listed out. There have to be all of these propers in place in order for there to be a grounding down and in order for there to be consistency. So you can start there. You can start looking at lifestyle and saying, where do I need to make some tweaks in my lifestyle in order to have a greater sense of groundedness, stability, security, and a greater sense of resiliency? So those are the 9 obstacles. In Sanskrit, I'll read them off, I'm not going to remember them. Vyadhi, Sthana, Samshaya, Pramada, Alasya, Avirati, Pranti Darshana, Alabdha Bhumikatva, and Anavashtishtatwani. Those are the 9 obstacles. And they are in English. Disease, mental dullness, doubt, carelessness, laziness, attachment to things, delusion, instability, and impermanence or inconsistency. And that's our work.
So the 9 obstacles of what? I forgot at the beginning.
The 9 obstacles to yoga.
To yoga, okay.
But they're actually the 9 obstacles to happiness.
Okay, to peace.
To peace.
Okay.
Yeah, completely. But in this context of the texts, they are listed out as the 9 obstacles to yoga, to the experience of the truth of one's own self and the connection of one's own self with that, with God, with Goddess. Any questions or reflections? Yes, Amber.
When we were talking about so many great points that you made and thought-provoking, when you were talking about that voice that you hear, I call that the wise mind.
Mm.
And there's so much that you know to take care of yourself, and when you move away from authenticity, that's where these 9 obstacles present themselves. And I struggled with that in my last position, my job, and it became so where I thought I had to be professional. I had so much respect for this doctor, and I wanted to be professional, and I wasn't showing up as an authentic person, and I got sad and lethargic, and I started feeding a sad place in myself, and then I got overweight, and then I had back pain, and then I was confused, and then I had insomnia, and then it was like I was going down this hole so fast, and people would look at me and they were like, "Oh, but you look happy," or my job or my boss would say, "You got this, Amber." It was like this positive toxicity, and I was like, "I totally don't got this. I don't got this," and I knew it. My wise mind was like, "Oh, but I have a job and I have this income and I have a purpose and I'm doing everything," but I was so unhappy, and I knew it, and I wasn't listening to myself, and it was like, you look at this cup and is it half full or empty? But can we really look at this cup though? Do we have to? Is it half full or? But let's look at this cup, and I've seen every obstacle, and it's everything that you're saying. So
100%.
yeah,
Absolutely. And the cup half full or half empty.
let's look at this cup.
Yeah. It's like, what's the quality of what's in the cup? And what's the quality of the cup? You know, is it leaking all over the place?
Who wants it?
Exactly. This is your cup. Your circus, your monkeys, not mine. You know? Yeah. So society, stop putting off on me what I'm supposed to be at the age of 60. You know? Don't be telling me what I need and what I don't need. I'm going to listen to myself. She knows what she needs. She knows what she doesn't need. And she's not playing those games no more. No.
And when you tell yourself you're not listening to yourself.
Oh, I listen to myself.
I wasn't listening.
I didn't always.
Yeah.
I did not always listen to myself. No. No. I did not always listen to myself. I did not always ignore myself either. It was a very complicated game of cat and mouse. Because sometimes I knew I was being wise and I listened. And I listened very deeply to myself. And other moments I said, I don't want to hear what you got to say. Be quiet. You know? And so I said, I'm more interested in what they have to say, what he has to say, what she has to say. You know? I'm more interested in the judgment than I am in the wisdom. And absolutely, we will all struggle with that for the entirety of our lives. There is never going to be, truly, there's never going to be a time where we will only listen to the wise. That's not our habit. Our habit and our tendency is to avoid the inner wisdom in favor of the drama of the outside world. And that's where we will constantly be embattling, drawing ourselves back, reminding ourselves, wait, this is a reaction. This is surrounded by fire. This is surrounded by passion. This is surrounded by something. This is a reaction. So I need to back up. Where's the wisdom? Where is the wisdom? What is she saying? And listen for her. Because she whispers. She doesn't scream. The drama screams. The drama says, hey, I'm here. Listen to me. And the wisdom is like,
Not again.
Exactly. I'm going to whisper really softly so that you really have to listen. So listen. But in order to hear her, you got to stop. You got to stop listening to that. You know? Yeah.
When you were talking about certain things in there, the doubt, I think it was. I have such, I always feel like I need permission. And I think that's what that doubt is, right?
100%.
Like, people need to give me, I need permission sometimes from people to do certain things or make certain decisions. And sometimes I don't make them until I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have trouble with that. So thanks for bringing it up. Like, I do have trouble with that.
And now let's rephrase that just a little bit, because you don't need permission. You want permission. You want permission. And why do you want permission? Because, and this is not you, this is people, you don't want the responsibility of the decision. Period. That's why you want permission. Because the moment someone gives you permission, it's no longer your real responsibility. Now it's theirs. You get to blame them if it doesn't work out.
Okay, well, that's I have to remember that.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the responsibility. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah. And that's the greatest thing that you could admit. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I don't want the responsibility. Sometimes I really don't. But that doesn't mean it's not my responsibility. So I have to just acknowledge that I don't want this responsibility and make a decision anyway. Period. Don't ask. Then that's the time to be quiet. That's the time to be quiet and to go inside and to listen to that voice. Because you already know what to do. I guarantee you, there's not a problem in your life right now, no matter how big or small, that you don't already have the answer to. You just don't want the answer. Because the answer is a responsibility, and it's a big responsibility. And you don't want that, because that's not fun. It's not fun. It's not amazing. And when you listen to yourself, and when you have listened to yourself, you have been knocked down too many times and told, well, you didn't do what I told you. I told you what to do. And if you had listened to me, you wouldn't be in the predicament you're in now. And you take that as failure. And now there's fear of failure. But here's the thing. It's not failure. It's learning. And you have a right to learn in this life. You have a right to fall down, and you have a right to stand back up again. And then to fall down again. And then to stand back up again. And then to keep doing it. Keep doing it.
I think it also has to do with, if it's not the right decision, the guilt.
Yeah. But where's the guilt come from?
I don't know. So I
The guilt is the same thing. The guilt is somebody saying to you, you're going to regret this, boy. Ooh. And that going into your brain and having it become a delusional thought pattern in your brain. Like, you don't have to have guilt over making a decision. You don't have to have guilt. As long as that decision is not coming from a place of hate, animosity, vengeance, any of those types of things. You don't have to have guilt over making a decision. Even if someone else takes your decision poorly, you don't have to have guilt over that. Your guilt is actually a symptom of these and a consequence of these 9 obstacles. If you are in a relationship, let's just say, because this is like a big one that a lot of people ask. You're in a relationship, and it's not the healthiest relationship. And you say, should I stay or should I go? You already know the answer, first of all. Because if you should stay, you wouldn't be asking the question. Okay. But let's just, for shits and giggles, say you don't know that part. Okay? So you ask that question, and then you look to other people to answer. Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go? Half of you say stay, half of you say go. Well, nobody is going to, like, no community is going to have all the same answer. So it just keeps coming back to me. But I don't have faith in my own ability to make that decision. So I just kind of linger between the what ifs. What if I'm wrong? What if he gets mad? What if he doesn't like? What if they don't understand? What if I lose my friends? What if? There's the what ifs. What if? That is further undermining me, my ability to take care of myself and my responsibilities, and the added burden of taking the other person's responsibilities away from them, because their reaction to my decision is not my responsibility, as long as I am not being hateful, vengeful, or that, violent in some way, shape, or form. How it affects them is their work. If I come to you and say, I've really sat with this and I've thought it over and I've made a decision, and you say, I don't like that decision. That's not my work. That's your work. I can be kind and I can say, well, I'll take a day, think about it, and ask me the questions that you need clarification on. And they come back and say, well, why'd you make that decision when I've only always been good to you? Why'd you make that decision when I've always listened to your problems, when I've always paid when we've gone out to dinner, when I've always held the door open for you? Why'd you make that decision? Well, because this decision doesn't have anything to do with those things. Well, what's it got to do with them? I guess I'm just a bad person. That's not your issue, okay? To talk about somebody else's self-esteem, their obstacles, is their work. You're not there to prove to them that they're worth something. You're just there to not be violent and to witness their struggle in whatever level capacity that's meant to happen. But when you take it on your shoulders by way of guilt, well, now he thinks he's a bad person. Now she thinks she's a bad person. Now they think I'm a bad person, because that's actually really what it is. If you break it down, it's not that you're really worried that they think they're not worth it. It's that you think that they think you're now not worth it because you made them feel bad. So it comes back to the egoic satisfaction. It always does. Always, always. Maybe I'll come up with like a 10-step questionnaire or something for y'all. And it'll be like, whenever facing a dilemma, ask yourself these questions to get to the root of what's going on. And the root Whenever it's got guilt associated with it, that's of an unhealthy nature, grief of an unhealthy nature, anger of an unhealthy nature, passion of an unhealthy nature, it only comes down to one thing. No matter how many questions you put ahead of it in order to break it down, the base is going to be the same. Ego. It's all about the ego. Well, I don't want him mad because I don't want to be with him, because then he's going to think that I'm bad, mad, crazy, talk about me. That's ultimately the concern. No matter who the person is, that's ultimately the concern. That's why we make the choices that we make a lot of the time. Is because we're worried about what we'll look like, how they'll talk about us. We have to worry about that less. We have to consider more, how am I talking about myself? Who cares what other people say? It's none of my business. How am I talking about myself? And start addressing those things. When you align yourself with a higher perception of yourself, all other perceptions will, first of all, you'll see them in a different light. You'll see them for the chaos that they actually are. And second, many of those perceptions about you will change. Some of them will say, oh, she's a bitch. And some of them will say, wow, she really got it together. But 100% of them will not be in agreement. Nope. So you can't put any value on that. Whether they are lifting you up onto the pedestal or putting you down. That can't be where you get your stability from, because it's not stable. You have to build that within yourself. Any other questions or reflections?
Go on and on.
What was that?
Go on and on.
Yeah. Are we good? Okay. I think I went over a little. Yeah, I did a lot. Let's sit tall. Close the eyes. Draw the hands together in front of the heart. It's a great conversation. But it's an even better life path. Let's take a breath in. May we all do the work of self-reconciliation. May we come to understand the most important relationship we have is to our own self. And when that relationship is aligned, all other relationships fall into place. Not overnight, but they do. Om Shri Matre Namaha. Thank you all so much for being here today. So good to see each and every one of you. Enjoy your day.
Have a safe trip.